Hi there. My name is John Boggie, and I'm the head of Cybersecurity certification at NXP Semiconductors. What I wanted to talk about today, and I'm sure you'll all be very, very excited, is security certification. Please note the bar you can always go to right now if you would prefer to. It's up to you. I will not follow you or chase you. What I wanted to talk about, I introduced the concept of C-SEP previously in a meeting with some RISC-V people, and I wanted to go over it again and also show what we NXP are doing with C-SEP and also with RISC-V. So we have this thing called the connected world, or IoT, or whatever acronym that you want to call it. And basically what it does is it takes lots and lots of devices and it connects them together. So it's very, very simple. You basically take products, you connect them up. But on top of that, you know, it gets quite complex quite quickly because we're moving a huge amount of data around. It's getting transferred from nodes to edge and into the cloud, analyzed by AI, and adjustments are getting made on the fly. And when we say connected, we're talking about connected factories, cars, infrastructure. On top of that, we have deep learning and all of those things that I talked about. So what exactly is a typical IoT chip? Well, an IoT chip is very complex. If you look at it, an IoT chip is more complex than the computing system that sent the man to the moon. So even at NXP, as one of our simple products, has more processing power than the command or the comms modules, etc., that were used in Apollo 11. And for a fun fact, NXP was also involved in the Apollo 11 program, or at that time, Motorola Freescale. And a typical IoT device, then you take that, you add in lots of comm stacks, rich OS, sensors, analytics, lots of different components making up a typical IoT device. And you're asking it to register itself with the cloud, be configurable, have some sort of provisioning or some unique identification. It also has some crypto, and it also may have some analytics happening on the product, and that information is passed up to the cloud for more analysis. You also wanted to, if it's been attacked or something has gone wrong, that it also provides some data up into the cloud. And you know, when we talk about the connected world, it gets more and more complex. We've got the processors getting put into devices. The devices are going through edge or going directly into the cloud. Then you're adding all of these things into things like cars, into robots, into those little light bulbs that come on at 5:30 every day because you've set them up with your Alexa or your Google or whatever. And every single part of this system provides something that somebody can attack or somebody can exploit. So I saw a lot of presentations today. I didn't see a lot of presentations about security. There was a lot of stuff about analysis, about verification, about validation. But as citizens of this world, we better start thinking about security as well, because it's our data, it's our information, it's our lives. It's the positional data of where your child is. So you want to think about security. So what about security? So there's a lot of things happening there, you know, a lot of points where people can do various attacks, things like denial of service, onboarding rogue components, maybe trying to access a node or an edge where they can basically control the system. And it's all about money. It's all about money and it's all about power. It's all about turning things off or controlling them for your advantage. And if you look at something like AI, adding single bit errors into that deep learning module causes quite devastating results. So when we talk about connectivity and we talk about the RISC-V components that are derived from it, we also have to think about security. And there's so many potential money-making things there. And you know, you can go online now and buy a nice denial of service kit or buy some Trojan software, and it's really cheap, you know? And it's getting cheaper. So connecting devices is fine, but you also have to make sure that you manage those devices, that you have lifecycle management, so you have secure onboarding, offboarding. You have crypto that functions correctly, so that things are not transferred in plain text, root of trust, secure boot, making sure that somebody isn't escalating privileges, as the gentleman before talked about, but also learning from attacks. You know, it's not just preventing security attacks, because the attackers are constantly evolving as well. So putting something in the field right now doesn't mean it's going to be secure in 1 year's time, 2 years' time, 10 years' time. So you have to also make sure that we're updating these things, we're learning from attacks, we're recovering, and it's a constant battle, it's a constant flow, the wheel of life. So how do we prove that things are secure? The standard way that we always do it is we do security certification. And let me tell you, I'm in my early 20s, but I work in security certification. That's why I look so old. Just worn down by it all, worn down by the life, all the money and the fast cars and women. So why do we need certification? First thing is, everything is hackable, but also lots of companies, you know those marketing and sales guys? The ones that go out and you see the slides and you laugh and go, oh, what are they claiming now? They claim things like unhackable, military-grade encryption. And they do it because, you know, they're selling these products, but they don't need to prove it. And there's a lot of stuff out there at the moment that children or kiddie hackers can pretty much decimate. So we need to start proving that what the claims we make are actually justifiable. And that's what certification is all about. It's about getting third-party testing and getting third-party validation. There's a lot of things happening, a lot of organizations coming together, like the IOXT Alliance in the US, Charter of Trust worldwide, where people are saying enough is enough. We need to, as organizations and as companies and as partners, build the secure world now, because we're also citizens. So we have to say enough. We can't just have things connected up. The fish tank in the casino that was the point of entry for an attack, because nobody cares about a fish tank. A few fish die. Who cares? We're not from Finland. So we also have to make sure we have security throughout the supply chain. And remember, look at everyone in this room. The supply chain is international. And simply having some certification here and then not caring about anything else is not going to help. So the problem is with security certification, it's also fragmented like hell. So everyone has their own little security certification standard. We have stuff in the US, we have stuff in Europe, we have OSCA in China, we have PSA from ARM. We have so many certification standards. So how does somebody buying something understand whether it's secure against this one or that it's a trusted brand? Because a lot of these things are also just talking about self-assessment. Do you do security? Yes, I do. Is it good? It's brilliant. Excellent. That's fine. I'll put all my money on that. So we have lots of competing standards, and the last thing that we want to do is to say to people, your standard is crap, get rid of it and take our standard. Because people have put a lot of effort into standards and producing them, and we've done it ourselves. We know it's not easy, and it makes you weep daily. So what we want to do is try and find a way that we can bring everything together, harmonized, and make a brand where people know and trust. So in NXP, we went away and we scratched our head because we've been doing this for a long time. We do more security certifications than any company in the world. I went to a common criteria award ceremony, and they awarded 85 certificates to everyone in the world. NXP got 25 of those 85. I was carrying them like this out of the door. So we took our expertise and we said, what can we do to help? So we invented a thing called C-SEP, the Security Evaluation Standard for IoT platforms. Rolls off the tongue. And what we wanted to do was make it a meta framework. So, John, W2EF is a meta framework. Basically, the meta framework comes from Java, but to make it easy, it's basically a common language that we can utilize to glue all of these various standards together. And that's really what we wanted to do, because we wanted to make something that was known and could link all of the other ones. And we wanted to make it easy because one of the things that happens in security certification is it has its own little language, and you need a degree in it or a master's degree to start understanding exactly what the guys who come to you and go, do you know what I need? I need an ADV FSP.4, and I need it tomorrow. And you go, what? And they go, a functional specification. You go, right, okay, I can do that. So we need to make it understandable so people can use it, and that when they pick something up, they know what's been tested and what hasn't. We also need to make it flexible so that we have different levels and we have different attacker profiles, because you know, not all products are the same. So we also wanted to make it really easy to use so that anybody can do a certification. And we wanted to make it unifying, and we wanted to make it relevant. So we wanted to also include things like patching, software updates, all of these things. As I say, we worked in certification a long time, so we know the pitfalls and the problems that there are. And one of the biggest problems is when you take a product like a processor and then you have to add your software, it's really confusing. And I come from the secure element side of things, where we had really experienced companies who would take a processor, they would add their software, they know what to do. At the moment out there, when you're building real products, people are just wanting somebody to come along with something secure that they can put into their product. But in reality, they forget that they actually have to do some of the puzzle. So keeping things clear, concise, making it understandable is important for everyone in that supply chain. We generated 5 levels because that's what we wanted to do. The first one was level 5. Level 5 is the highest. What we did was we generated this one, and we really wanted it to take the existing secure elements that were already certified. And I'll come back to that in a minute. It's really kind of there for the root of trust products. We then took an optimized version. So we took the standard common criteria and we optimized it. We got rid of all the crap, and we sped it up as much as possible to make it easy. We have a C-SEP level 3, which is a time box certification. So if the requirements say 30 days, that's how much time the lab spends on it. If it says 15 days, that's how much time the lab spends on it. Too many times in certification, you go to a lab and you say, I'd like this certified, and 4 years later, you phone them up or you get your lawyers to go and see somebody and say, I need to release this product. C-SEP 2 is more kind of push-button testing or a code review. So it's really there just to analyze your product and see if for known security vulnerabilities, they're there. C-SEP 1 is the magic number. It's a self-certification or a self-declaration, but it's a smart one. It relies on the previous layers. So if you've tested something at the root of trust, then you have added software that's been tested. You don't have to do a full certification. You can make a self-declaration, show that you've done it correctly, and you get a meaningful cert. So if I take an example, I have the SE050 chip, which I certify C-SEP 4. It's the root of trust. I do an optimized common criteria style certification, and it's tested as long as it needs to be tested. Then I take that as the slave to a microcontroller for a little more processing power. I do a time-boxed vulnerability testing on it. Campaign is, say, 25 man days, where the lab attacks it. Then I add myself an RTOS, and I do a source code check to make sure that there's no vulnerabilities and that they're actually using the microcontroller and the root of trust correctly. Then if I'm making an active speaker or an assistant or whatever you want to call it, I can do a self-declaration to say that all of the previous parts, security parts, have been tested and verified. Now, this here looks as complex as hell, but this is really what we're trying to do with this meta framework. So we generated a C-SEP methodology. We use common criteria. The reason we use common criteria is because we're self-harmers. No. The reason why we use common criteria is because it has the largest database of security functional and security assurance requirements, and it's been peer reviewed over many years. So it's a really good starting point. We took out all of the nonsense, and then we generated our own C-SEP methodology. So it's almost like a variance model of the ISO 15408. We then took other standards and we mapped the various things like PSA, the ARM certified, ETSI, Alibaba's ICA, the Cloud Association certification. We mapped that so that you can reuse them. We also mapped it to things like IEC 62443, which is the Industry 4.0. And we're also generating various protection profiles, which is a technology level list of functional requirements. So if I use the meta framework method, so for my SE050, it's got an EL6 plus, SOGI S cert. I don't have to do anything because it's already been mapped to C-SEP, so it's automatically taken as a C-SEP level 5. Then I take my microcontroller that's been ARM PSA certified level 2 using their protection profile. So that's already mapped. I don't have to do anything. I take that in as a PSA, I think, as a C-SEP level 2. Then I add my RTOS, and once again, I have the source code analyzed. I get a C-SEP cert from it, and then I put it in the product, self-declaration, C-SEP level 1 cert. But I reuse the proof from the previous layers to get myself a couple of things. I can either do it as a UL 2900, which doesn't mandate any security testing, but it has requirements. Or, oops, please don't throw the podium at anyone. That was one of the rules. Also, IEC 62443, you can also do it there where there is no testing mandated, but giving that proof. I need to go a little bit quicker now because I'm running out of time because I talk too much. This is what NXP is currently doing with RISC-V. So we're generating a secure subsystem as part of an SoC, and the main processors there are RISC-V. And what we're doing to show how things function correctly, we're also going to certify this using C-SEP. So hopefully, if we come back in a year's time, we'll already be most of the process through getting this certified, and we'll have some proof points for RISC-V. I'll just quickly go over the status and partnerships. So C-SEP version 1.3 has been released. There's a web address there if you want to have a look at it. There's also some security target templates. We started mapping C-SEP to the various standards. So we have it mapped to PSA. We've also got it mapped to 62443, etc. So you can already, with these C-SEP certs, start to push for other things. We started generating some protection profiles. And what we did was we looked at a lot of the industry initiatives for IoT security, and we generated that into a master set of security functional requirements. We also did some work with Alibaba on their ICA, their cloud association, Alibaba ICA Level 3 for secure microcontrollers. And from there, we started to generate some protection profiles. So we've just completed the first draft of a generic security MCU, MPU. And we'll be giving that to Global Platform to do further work on it. We've also started generating attacker profiles and also attacker rating tables to make sure that the testing is consistent across labs. For the Alibaba ICA, we've generated a protection profile for their level 3, and we should be releasing that hopefully by the end of the year. Alibaba currently, there's some stuff happening there, which has made it a little slower. I've started working on a baseline IoT product, which matches things like the IOXT Alliance, minimum requirements or pledges, IEC 62443, and all of the various ANISA, ETSI baseline requirements, which means that you can take an IoT product and basically certify against it and show that you match all of these baseline requirements. One thing to note, I'm not sure if everyone in the room knows this, but Eurosmart in Europe is working on a protection profile for common criteria for a secure subsystem and an SoC. Some members of the Alliance are also involved there. If you want further information, please contact me later, and I can show you what's happening there. And we have various partnerships. So we donated C-SEP to Global Platform. So if you're a member of Global Platform, you can also be involved in the writing and what we do there with C-SEP. Alibaba, if you look at their application form for their ICA certification, you'll notice that C-SEP is there as a standard that's accepted by them. And as I say, we're generating a generic MCU, MPU, and we've mapped it to all of the various things that I mentioned before. We're also working to drive this further into standardization with Global Platform. And that's basically it. What do I need from you guys? I need some of you to take some products and certify it against C-SEP, because the more momentum I have there and the more weight I have on it, the more we'll get to that having a unified global standard. Do you have any questions, or do you just want to go and get drunk downstairs? Your choice. This gentleman here would like to ask a question.
So who can do this certification right now for C-SEP?
Anyone? Yeah, we have 4 labs. So we have Brightside, RISC-V, SRC, and A+. We have 1 certification body in the Netherlands, RISC-V. So basically, if you want to contact, RISC-V are here, and I believe Brightside is here. So if you want to contact either of those labs, they can talk through. And I think also RISC-V will be, a representative from RISC-V will be coming here also tomorrow. So I suggest you have a conversation with those guys, and they can talk you through the process. Any other questions? Gentlemen?
When you reach the age of 30, will you still be working in security?
I hope to be really rich by then with all of the money that they pay me for an XP. If not, I'll just become a motivational speaker or something, I don't know. Or a bum, who knows.